What is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be going over the AS VAL and the MAC-10 to determine which one is more viable to use as your secondary weapon. Typically with secondary weapons, what I'm aiming to do is to win more of those closer range gunfights, or maybe switch to a gun instead of reloading, because as we know from the classic campaigns, that is faster. Shout out to you guys that remember the old campaigns where it said that. Anyway, this video is actually coming to us today because of a comment. The shout out to the luckiest loser who said, "Bro, love what you're doing. I wish you can compare the AS VAL and the MAC-10 to see which one is better as a secondary." So if you guys want to comment below more on my videos, just to talk about what else you want me to see, or you want ask a specific question or comparison or something about a gun analysis like this, I will be more than happy to do that. But without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. So starting off, we're going to be talking about the AS VAL. This is kind of like a hybrid assault rifle that's much better at close quarters. It has a very high fire rate of 885 rounds per minute, but it has a very slow bullet velocity of 333 meters per second. Like I said, like a hybrid assault rifle that is more geared towards close quarter gunfights, making it a very good secondary weapon, like I said, for those close range gunfights. It starts out with a very high damage of 37, an effective damage range of 35, which is a lot farther than I actually thought it was going to be, making this gun a 7-shot kill up until 35 meters, where it drops down to a 9-shot kill. Aim down sight speed is pretty quick at 225 milliseconds. Ammo capacity is kind of low at 20 rounds. Reload quickness is pretty standard at 2.5 seconds. Now looking at the time to kill, we're looking at between 0.7 seconds and about 1 second at those very, very high distances. Let's zoom out so we can see the rest of the graph. So right here, let me position this better. Something really quickly about my time to kill graphs that a lot of YouTubers don't do is that it is in reverse order on the y-axis, meaning that the gun gets worse as you increase the distance, increasing the time to kill. I do this just because it's easier to see that visually, especially whenever you go and compare it to other weapons. You just look to see which one is on top, and that one is normally the better gun. So as we can see here, there's a 19% increase to time to kill at 35 meters, where we saw that initial drop off from 7 bullets to 9 bullets. This is a very good low time to kill at these low distances, especially compared to the other weapons. Now let's check out this recoil pattern. Now I'm going to show you live footage of the actual recoil pattern in just a second. I just want to put in a quick note that this is only 20 rounds and it does go up very high. It's actually the height of an AK-47 with 30 rounds is what this height is whenever it reaches. So like I said, kind of a high recoil, but it is just vertical, so it is pretty easy to control. Now let's check out that live footage. So right here we are looking at a base AS VAL with no attachments. I'm 15 meters away and I'm doing nothing to try and control the recoil. And then I'm going to shoot it again just so you guys can see like the consistency with the aiming stability.
Setting waypoint. Cancel.
So like I said, only 20 shots, a very high fire rate, and that is a pretty significant recoil, vertical recoil mostly. Like I said, because there's not a lot of horizontal movement, fairly easy to control, especially where you're going to use this gun inside 20 meters. Now right here, because this is a secondary, I'm going to be comparing the hip fire between the AS VAL and the MAC-10. This is the AS VAL hip fire, no attachments, not doing anything to try and change the recoil. It's really not bad for an assault rifle. Typically assault rifles, you're going to see something a lot worse than that. Now let's move on back to the Excel spreadsheet. So moving on to the MAC-10, an insane fire rate of 1150 rounds per minute stands out right away. Low damage, but like I said, that fire rate is insane, and honestly this isn't that low in comparison. Something like the M4 I believe has about 28, 29, 30 damage, whereas this has 25. Not that big of a deal considering this insanely high fire rate. Effective damage range about where I would expect an SMG to be at 15 meters. Bullet velocity, same thing, about where an SMG should be at 350 meters per second. Aim down sights being at 200 milliseconds, pretty fast, but like I said, it is an SMG. Ammo, magazine ammo capacity, this is going to make a big difference in my comparison. I'll talk about that later on. And this is 32. Reload quickness is a little bit faster as well at 2 seconds. So all of these stats make it a 10-shot kill up to 15 meters, and then a 13-shot kill between 20 and 30 meters, and then a 14-shot kill after that. The SMGs in Warzone typically have 2 drop-offs in their damage range, just like this one does here. Time to kill very similarly as VAL, except for kind of at the end at longer ranges between 0.73 seconds and 1.15 seconds. Scrolling down, you can see the time to kill graph right here. It has a 22% increase to time to kill at 20 meters. You can see by this drop off point right here. This time to kill graph just alone without showing the AS VAL doesn't give you a whole lot, but we will be showing you the AS VAL in comparison to this in just a second. Looking at the recoil pattern, this is slightly harder control in my opinion than the AS VAL was. It kind of has this hook shaped recoil, kind of like a backwards C. And something else to point out too is that yes, I shot a little bit of extra shots on the second recoil pattern instead of just shooting 20, trying to get that direct comparison to the AS VAL. However, you can see that it is appearing to be a little bit different. This is because this gun likely has a pretty bad aiming stability, which makes sense. If you look at the gun, it doesn't have a stock. It's like holding up an automatic pistol and just letting it fly. But let's go ahead and take a look at that live recoil pattern like as we did with the AS VAL. So this is a base MAC-10 with no attachments. I'm not doing anything to control the recoil, and I'm 15 meters away just from the same wall just as I was with the AS VAL. I shot about 20 shots on that first one just so we can get a better comparison. On the second one, accidentally let a few more shots fly, but you still kind of get the point. It does have not a super high vertical recoil, but a lot of horizontal swing to it, which is going to make this gun a little bit harder to control at distance because it's just a little bit more unpredictable. And then here, that was the hipfire accuracy. The hipfire accuracy on the MAC-10 is slightly better than the AS VAL.
Enemy UAV overhead.
And then you can see kind of panning over towards all of the recoil patterns here. Like I said before, the AS VAL vertically a lot higher, MAC-10 horizontally a little bit more, and then you can see on this very right hand side right here that the MAC-10's hipfire spread is much better than this one. This one kind of gets away from you to the upper right just a little bit. And then right here, we're just looking at the crosshairs and the crosshair size. You can see that right now the AS VAL kind of fits perfectly inside those steel brackets right there. But then whenever we switch weapons, you can see it's significantly smaller. I don't know the exact percentage on that one, but you can see and proven from the live recoil footage that it is smaller. Now let's go back to the spreadsheet. So right here we just have a direct stats comparison just so you guys can see everything that a little bit better that from what we just covered and went over with. Firepower on the AS VAL is better. However, the fire rate and just about everything else on the MAC-10 is better. So far, that's kind of what I felt and kind of what I've seen, especially looking at this analysis and everything else. Recoil pattern, like we just went over, AS VAL has much more vertical recoil, while the MAC-10 has more horizontal and worse aiming stability, making it a little bit more unpredictable. Now this is kind of the most important thing, right? This is the time to kill graph, and what I'm seeing is that the AS VAL has a better, lower time to kill the entire way. And what you're looking for with a secondary, depending on what you're using your secondary for, but in this scenario, I'm assuming that you would want this secondary to be used for your up-close engagements. The AS VAL is better one-on-one in these engagements, especially whenever you're looking up to about 25 meters, and you get this pretty significant gap right here. Right, so what does all of this mean? Which one should be using? Which weapon should we be using, and when should we be using it? Right now, I think that The time to kill on the AS VAL is better. The aim down accuracy on the AS VAL is better. But the hip fire accuracy on the MAC-10 is better. The ammo type, and what I mean by ammo type is the AS VAL is still an assault rifle. So I would not compare, I wouldn't create a class with an AS VAL as your secondary if you're already using an assault rifle. This is going to be something that you guys are just going to have to experiment with and like what works better with you. Me personally, I would be burning through ammo way too quickly, and I don't want to have this happen to me. In addition to that, the ammo capacity, even with attachments, is much better on the MAC-10. Normally, I switch to my secondary SMG whenever I run out of ammo on my assault rifle and I still have more people to go and take out. Meaning that I'm gonna want more ammo capacity, especially if another team comes in and you're having to deal with, you don't want to reload and then you switch weapons. And if you're using an AS VAL, you're going to burn through those 30 rounds a lot faster than you would an extended 53 round mag on the MAC-10. Meaning that I think that, again, the MAC-10 kind of wins this scenario. Same thing as I said just before. Normally, whenever you're in close engagements, you just want to swap weapons instead of reloading, meaning that the MAC-10 is going to be better again just because it's weapon swap speed. Something minor here, movement speed is also better on the MAC-10. But let's take a look at some of the loadouts that I created and then those recoil patterns as well until we get to like our final conclusion. But right now, I would recommend using an AS VAL if you're just a beast with a sniper rifle and your primary weapon is going to be an SPR or a Kar 98, one of those faster tactical sniper rifles. But I would be using the MAC-10 as my secondary if you're using a regular standard assault rifle or an LMG such as like the Kilo, M4A1, AMAX, or Grau. I would recommend using the MAC-10 as your secondary weapon. But let's go ahead and check out those loadouts, and I'll show you guys kind of like the recoil pattern on those as well. So as for the AS VAL, it is kind of interesting that this gun does not have any sort of muzzle attachment, but it does have a barrel with an integral suppressor in it. And it also increases the damage range and bullet velocity on this gun. I think that this barrel is kind of must-have just because it's really going to pick up that bullet velocity. It's very poor on this weapon, even as a close-range assault rifle. The Commando foregrip, this is just going to help with some of that horizontal weapon sway, and also going to improve the aiming stability, making it kind of the recoil pattern less random. And then this is very important. It at least boosts from 20 rounds to 30 rounds on the mag size. But like I said before, this is still very low, especially in something like Warzone, where it's going to take you 10 shots to kill somebody, even with very good accuracy, meaning that you're only going to be able to take down 1 or 2 people with this weapon. So if you're playing something like quads, like I said before, this is going to be kind of harder to use as a secondary weapon, even if you are pairing it with something like a sniper rifle. And then as for the stock, I use this just to give it a lot better of mobility. Especially, like I said, it is still an assault rifle, even though it's a hybrid, so this is going to make it act more like an SMG. Now let's go ahead and check out the MAC-10 loadout. So here we have the agency suppressor, like I said, just to give it damage range and additional bullet velocity, especially on this weapon where the effective damage range is very low at 15 meters. And then again, more effective damage range, more bullet velocity. The field agent grip is going to help a lot with that horizontal recoil pattern and make it more vertical and kind of give it more of a, I guess, like an L shape instead of just a straight up like backward C like we saw before. And then this is one of the weapon's biggest strengths, is that you get a huge 53 round magazine with a making it a fast mag, making it a lot faster reload, making it very good as a secondary. And then right here, this gives you an even tighter hip fire accuracy spread. So let's check out how this weapon behaves in the footage that I recorded earlier. Alright, so right here, this is the AS VAL with the exact attachments that I talked about earlier, 15 meters away, and I'm not doing anything to try and change the recoil. That is much better. See, that was 30 shots instead of 20, and it went up to the same spot, making this gun a lot easier to control and kind of viable. Like I said, if you want to create this weapon alongside a sniper rifle, especially if you're good at sniping, I think this is the go-to, especially with that kind of accuracy. I know that guy shot me. I test all these guns in a bot lobby, and there's just only so much stuff you can control. Anyway, here's the MAC-10.
Reloading.
That was 30 rounds. Yes, it was that fast.
Reloading.
And then that's 30 rounds again. You can kind of see it barely, but you can definitely tell, especially on this right one. I'm going to follow the recoil pattern with my mouse just in case you guys can't see it so well. It does have a slight curve, but it is a very, very insignificant compared to, especially compared to what it was. Many of these attachments, like I said, doing their job. Alright, now let's check out the hipfire accuracy on both of these guns.
Mag change.
Like I said, that one's even a lot better. It does go up to the right a little bit, but see how tight the MAC-10 spread is. It just goes straight up, making it very easy to control, and it is a much smaller spread. So you switch weapons, and then you switch back. You can see that the crosshairs do get a lot smaller. So with all of that coming into play, I still stand by my initial statement saying that if you're just a beast at a sniper rifle and you're looking for a good secondary, I would recommend using the AS VAL. Like I said, very fast time to kill, especially if you're playing trios or something like that, where you're not going to be fighting too many people at the same time. That worser ammo capacity is not going to be that big of a deal, and the reload time is pretty quick, even though you're only shooting off 30 rounds. I think it could absolutely shred people, especially inside about 20 meters, even up to 30 meters of the AS VAL, and this gun can be very, very useful. However, if you were more of a typical average player, not like typical average, but like what most people use, and like myself, I use an M4A1, I would recommend using something like the MAC-10, just because, like I said, you're not going to use the same ammo, and you're going to have a lot more ammo capacity. So like, let's say like you're shooting somebody longer range, you burn out a lot of ammo, and all of a sudden his buddy comes up closer to you, you switch to your MAC-10 quickly, you can take him out, and you can take anybody else out that's right next to you. And if we go back and we look at our time to kill graph, up close, these guns are very, very close together, which kind of brings me to like my conclusion again. I think the MAC-10 is a little bit more viable just because of its tighter hipfire spread and its better ammo capacity. Hope you guys learned something, enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give the video a like if you learned something. And if you want more videos like this and more content like this, do not forget to subscribe to my channel with notifications on so you never miss a video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you all have a great day.